It's not only to bring the data in, by the way. When people think the ingestion piece and the connectors, this is big things. Yeah, it's a challenge. But then once you solve the problem, the way that you integrate everything to one smooth data model that provide the value for the business, this is the biggest mission that I see it.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. This one is going to be all about data operations. Welcome Itamar Ben Hamo, the CEO and co-founder of Rivery, a DataOps platform that streamlines data integration, transformation, and orchestration. As seasoned business executive, Ben Hamo was co-founder and CEO of Vision.BI, a leading data consulting firm acquired by Keyrus Group. At Keyrus, Ben Hamo was Group Vice President for North America. Itamar holds a BSc in Computer and Information Systems Security from the Ben Gurion University of the Negev. Itamar Ben Hamo, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders all the way from Austin, Texas. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thank you, Michael, for having me. Oh, good.
Thank you for joining me. I know you're generally in New York, but you're in Austin with your new offices for your amazing startup, which we're going to talk about soon. Your expertise in data ops and business intelligence runs way deeper than just your current endeavor, and we're going to talk about that as well. But I have to start from your Army days. A two-year back-to-back, I guess, record holder for the disaster run, and I never did the disaster run. I want to re-enlist just to do it. What is it? What is the disaster run?
Yeah. Most of the entrepreneurs in Israel, they're coming from the 8200s division. I'm not. I'm parachuters. I was an officer I led what we call the department or machlaka in the Israeli army, in the parachuters. So when I was in the what we call Bad Echad, which is the officer school. So there is a disaster run, or what they call disaster Bad Echad. Everyone knows that. After 2 days in a row that you are doing foot navigating of 90 kilometers, then you have what they call disaster run. It's an exam. And I broke the record, and I broke it for 2 seconds. I didn't know the before, but my friend, which is really great athlete, he told me, run really quick because you are going to break the record. So I just did my best, and eventually I end up with 16 minutes, 32 seconds, which broke in 2 seconds. I hold the record for two years, which was just a side story of my life.
That's amazing. The extent of my physical training in Bad Echad in the Commander's Academy was doing maybe 19 push-ups and barely finishing them. So I think we had a little bit of a different experience, but that's okay. We're here talking together on this show, and we're not going to talk about, commanding and, well, maybe a little bit commanding because it has a lot of leadership lessons, but I want to talk about your experience with business intelligence and data ops. So Itamar, throughout your experience, walk me through the bigger milestones on your journey and how each one has helped shape your understanding of business intelligence and the power of data in organizations.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe one of the oldest people, data people, at least in Israel. I built data warehouses since 2000 when I started my career.
Wow.
And I spoke about data warehouses when people didn't know what is data warehouse. And then, so it was a great experience after school. I studied in BSc and engineering. And I just built data warehouses and analytics platform for living, like for more than 20 years, like 2 decades. We saw a lot of transitions over the time. I think the biggest one was when I learned as the Rivery is my third company, I built another two companies, one in New York and one in Israel. Both of them really successful, but it was like assets and internal product that we built. But we delivered the projects, and we worked with 500 customers, so we knew the problem, we saw it. But then, and I think that was the things that pushed me to go all the way with Rivery, is that the transition that you see now in the market when companies dealing with data operation missions, which is much more complex than we had in the past because of the fragmented of data. And then other challenges like moving to cloud or digital transformation, business that wants to more involved in the data space. So I think that those are the things that push me, like I call it from service to SaaS, and provide the same value or maybe even better value as a SaaS organization and not as a service provider.
Now, so take me up, 30,000 feet in the air and share with me your understanding of the power of data or business intelligence in general in organizations and where we are today in 2021. So what I'm hearing from you is you've actually been building these tools for organizations since the very early 2000s. And I've been in this space for maybe 7 or 8 years, and I know that I was also, in the beginning of it. I've seen organizations even in 2013 and 2014. So where are we today and what's happening?
I think that we are now in when organization understand the value of data, the organization really willing to invest a lot of money in order to be a data-driven organization. Even taking consumer packaging goods companies, like companies that not the natural organization that used to invest in data. Now everyone understands that the power of it. I think that the biggest changes, the biggest difference, from the old days that I used to build data warehouses in the early of the 2000s, is that you have more and very different sources. Every company, when I built the first data warehouses, it was one or two ERP. You had SAP. For the maximum, you had another one CRM. And, I managed the biggest project in Israel at that time, I think in 2005 in Selcom, and they had 30 systems. Now, even Rivery, when we wanted to build our internal data warehouse analytics, we have more than 25 sources. So this is the biggest challenge. It's not only to bring the data in, by the way. When people think the ingestion piece and the connectors, this is big things. Yeah, it's a challenge. But then once you solve the problem, the way that you integrate everything to one smooth data model that provide the value for the business, this is the biggest mission that I see it. Yeah.
Right. So with this growing fragmentation, what I'm hearing you say is, we've built a lot of tools, which a lot of different, models, a lot of ways in which to store data. And now we've entered this new phase in data intelligence world where we have this, we have this crazy amount of data, we have crazy amount of connectors, and we're still left with these big open questions. How do we actually integrate this data together, and how do we actually put it to good use for a company? And I'm assuming that with Rivery, you're also understanding that there's also a bunch of low-hanging fruit where just the world has become very complicated. But if you're able to simplify it, then you're going to bring some amazing results. Talk to me a little bit about this integration with Rivery.
Yeah, I think that if you follow the revolutions in the data space, you see that 2010 business users wanted to get more access to the data, and then you saw product like Tableau or like Click, with the self-service approach. Then later on with Sisense Looker, we call it data visualization, but it's actually self-service user experience. Then, I think that 5 years later, with Snowflake, BigQuery, with those data warehouses or data lakes in the cloud, they came to solve the problem of, okay, we have the business user to consume the data, but now we are moving to cloud. We want to have the data is growing. We don't need to add another server. Let's use it as a SaaS. And that was the time that Snowflake and BigQuery and some other players came into the market. And I believe that the next revolution, or what we're seeing now, is the DataOps. Why? Because the challenge of to have as an organization that they were doing migration to cloud or digital transformation. So you have the tool, the storage tool, you have the data visualization tool, but you don't have the orchestrator, you don't have the operator that to manage the ingestion and transformation and cataloging of the data sets, the entities, and all with the same value that we had from traditional tools like Informatica, but in the much quicker, much faster, and the ease of use that the current business wants to see.
Right. So obviously, with a company like Rivery, I'm assuming that a subset of the organizations truly understand and are huge champions of what you do. If you do your job well enough, then the rest of the organization doesn't even necessarily need to know that Rivery is behind is the brain that is integrating all this amazing data that is leading to the amazing intelligence. And so, in the next few minutes, I'd love for you to share with me how you're imagining this world with Rivery integrated, and how is the world looking different as we approach the next few years, where these integrations are simpler, where the companies have the business intelligence available to them as they need it, asking the right questions. In other words, what impact does Rivery end up having as a butterfly effect on our society?
I think, almost zero definition that you want to put in your, let's say, data model. And in order to build the most efficient data model that can be consumed by the business users, this is the goal. This is the vision. On the way there, you have some milestones. So you started with the connectors, which we are trying to be like really zero development on this one. But then we grew to the data model, which is the biggest thing I think in our product, specifically for the growing the hyper growth companies, that you have several business units in the organization, and you want to make sure that each one of them, they will use what we call virtual data model that's relevant for their needs. And it's old, and I think this is the brain behind Rivery is that the fact that we can build for you, or you build with our platform, your data platform, by having the based on the metadata that you have. And this is the biggest thing. Our engine built the data warehouse, whether if it's Snowflake, Databricks, Google, AWS, you can build in very few minutes entire data warehouse that based on metadata that you get from the sources.
Right, and I think that one of the things that as you're explaining this, and I'm imagining the simplicity, and I have the added advantage that I've been thinking about this space for a long time, and I think for an outsider, a lot of people are talking about impact today in the world, and they're asking, what impact does your company do? And a lot of people miss out, I think, on the idea. My conviction is that companies like yourself are the ones that are going to make the biggest social impact on the world, and it's very not counterintuitive. What you're doing is you're enabling organizations to leverage data better, to have better insight, to be more efficient, and obviously, hopefully, the right organizations will be using this service. But your impact is not measurable, but we know it's going to be amazing as more and more use Rivery, right? And I think that's a really important thing to know in the industry, as people are talking about impact. DataOps and what you're doing is just as big as impact, if not more, than any other company that claims we're here to do impact, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the best compliment that I could get for what we are doing. And so thank you for that, Michael. I really strong believer on this one. For living, again, with my previous two companies that I built, I met so many businesses, and let's say, built really strong hundreds of employees in North America and in Israel that build those kind of projects. I'm not saying that Rivery will replace this one, but it make it more efficient, make it more value for the business, I think, for our customer and their customer, let's say, the partners' customers. And so this is the impact that we're trying to do. And people think always, but the data visualization tool is the most important thing. Yeah, it's important, definitely important. But if you will ask the data scientist, yeah, it's nice that you have the Tableau, but I need to have the data in place in order to build my algorithm. So it depends on the consumer.
Right, and I definitely can understand the pain point on a daily basis, and so I'm a very strong consumer on that end. Itamar, why do you like data so much? You've been in the space for dozens of years. Why?
Why? I think I love it. I think I love the data. When I have a passion to be. I'm a builder. I have a passion to build the companies. When I built the first Vision.BI with my two co-founders in Israel, Sigal and Ilan, it was really great experience. We worked with the best companies in Israel, all the best names in Israel. We worked with them to build their first data warehouse or first analytics platform. Best partner of Snowflake in EMEA, not only in Israel. So I think that we did a great success. But after 4 or 5 years, I decided, I told my co-founders, look, we need to do something abroad. We need to do something else outside of Israel. And then, what is the best city in the world for me? I liked New York. So I wanted to be in New York every quarter. So I decided to build the New York office, the New York company. So it was, and it's also started really small in the beginning, real bootstrap. And we grew in very few years from, very few people to over 140 people with 6 or 7 offices in North America. It was really amazing journey. And when I came to my dad, my father is the one that, he doesn't know anything about what I'm doing. It's not from the tech, nothing. But he's the best person to consult with. When I told him that I want to go back to Rivery, to build Rivery as to go to another time, and the third time to be a startup, he told me, you are so different than me, but you will succeed. I know that. So I like it. I guess that I love it. I love the build.
Itamar, toda rabba. Thank you so much for this episode. I loved it. I have a few questions left about you, not about data and not about Rivery. And I want you to take me back to middle school or high school, childhood days. What fascinated you as a kid? What is your favorite subject in school or a passion that you had?
I always liked math and sport. I think that was the best things. Even now, the best thing that I like, I'm supposed to be a soccer player, professional soccer player. I never succeed. I wasn't so good, so I decided to focus on math. So now I'm checking the parameters, the ACV, the ARR, and all the metrics. You need to know something in math in order to succeed on this field.
And who would be a source of inspiration for you throughout your career or journey, personal, professional?
So I think that I learned from many people. I mentioned my dad, and that is nothing in the tech, but my dad, he lost his wife, my mom, when she was 37 years old, with 4 kids, really young. And the way that he led us as a family, his community, basically, the way that he led us and gave us the confidence that we can grow from this strategy. I think that, for me, will always be, a person to consult with. In the product, I learned things from Elon Musk, about if you are competing in the market that exists in market, you cannot be slight better than your competitor. You need to be much better, and this is what we want to do in Rivery. And
And what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
I think honesty. I really count myself as an honest person. Sometimes things too much on the table, but I think honesty is one of my passion. I'm passionate for what I'm doing. I don't care about. I care about money, but more important about what I'm doing and the passion that I have to what I'm doing. And yeah, and I think, as I mentioned, I'm a builder. I like to build. I'm not the guy to, I have other partners always in the business to make sure that we have the maintenance and everything. But I always like to look ahead.
Amazing. Itamar, toda raba raba. Have a great rest of the day. Best of luck with Rivery. It looks amazing. I look forward to checking out the product and playing around with it as a data engineer. That's what I do a lot. So thank you for sharing with me all your insights about the domain. It was wonderful. And stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Really enjoyed.